Chapter 1191. Listening to their words, Su Shan clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. He raised his head and swept his sharp gaze across the familiar faces. He said word by word, "I, Su Shan, must have been blind to be brothers with such shameless people like you." Hearing this, the mercenaries clenched the swords in their hands in embarrassment. "If that's the case, then don't blame us for being impolite." As soon as they finished speaking, the mercenaries surrounded Su Shan and slashed their swords fiercely. When the surrounding commoners saw them fighting on the street, they were so frightened that they cried out and hurriedly ran away. Some ran into the shops to hide, while others retreated 20 meters away to watch, in case they were injured by the sword chi. "That red-robed boy, kill him!" The leader of the mercenaries stared at Fengjiu and ordered in a gloomy voice. A few mercenaries stepped forward with their swords in hand. These people were veteran mercenaries who had experienced hundreds of battles. Some of them had been mercenaries for more than 10 or 20 years. Their fighting strength was not weak, otherwise, they would not have been able to return alive from a place like the Hell Mountain Range. Seeing these people attacking with swords, Fengjiu only curled the corners of her lips into a smile. However, her eyes were cold, and there was not the slightest hint of a smile. The surrounding people recognized this group of mercenaries, so when they saw them fighting, they began to talk about it. This group of mercenaries is quite famous in the mercenary group. I heard that they went to the Hell Mountain Range for a mission a year ago. I think they just came back now. To be able to come back alive from that place, their skills are not ordinary. It seems that the red-clothed young man is in trouble. Isn't that black-robed Su Shan? He is also a member of the mercenary team. They're actually fighting amongst themselves. And it looks like those mercenaries are all trying to kill him. Could it be that they're having an internal strife? Who knows? I heard that they were talking about Su Shan betraying the mercenary team. I guess that's what happened. Then they bumped into the mercenaries here. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red and they start fighting. But Su Shan has a very good reputation among the mercenaries. He doesn't look like that kind of person. You may not know, but I do. Puma Mountain has saved most of the mercenaries. Even the mercenary leader was saved by Puma Mountain. Everyone knows about this. That's why I feel strange when I see them fighting. Bang bang bang. While the surrounding people were discussing, Fengjiu spun around and sent a flying kick. Several mercenaries were sent flying and landed heavily on the street. Her kick contained a hidden force, and when she kicked out, she aimed at the wounds on their bodies. This kick almost made them fall to the ground one by one, howling in pain and unable to get up. Look, this young man has such a handsome skill. Not only is his appearance outstanding, even his skill is outstanding. That's right. Those mercenaries are all at the foundation establishment stage. Could it be that this young man's strength is higher than theirs? He can actually send so many people flying with one kick. I don't think those mercenaries can even get close to him. Just as everyone's eyes lit up with praise, a voice rang out. "It's him. Arrest him." Chapter 1192. Hearing that voice again, Fengjiu looked back and couldn't help but frown. He felt that this person was really annoying. He really didn't know how her parents taught her to have such a stupid and arrogant daughter. At the same time, the people waiting in the inn for Fengjiu's return waited for a long time, but he didn't come back. Gradually, some of them lost their patience. At this time, the people sent out to investigate a few months ago returned. At the same time, they brought back a piece of news that shocked everyone in the Shangguan family. After receiving the news, the Shangguan family head was shocked. Seeing that the matter was serious, he didn't dare to hide it, so he hurried to the place where his father, the ancestor of the Shangguan family, refined pills and made medicine. The Shangguan family was an alchemy family, and the place where the ancestor refined pills and made medicine was a forbidden area. The consequences of entering without permission were serious. Outside, there were 2 peak golden core cultivators guarding the alchemy courtyard. There were also 2 nascent soul cultivators in the courtyard. Firstly, it was to prevent people from disturbing the ancestor when he was refining pills. Secondly, although this wasn't the hidden pill pavilion, there were still many pills refined by the ancestor. They were very precious, so they naturally had to increase the security. Family head. The two-peak golden core cultivators saw the person who came and bowed respectfully. Go in and report that I have something very important to tell my father. The Shangguan family head indicated, but didn't directly enter, because alchemists had a bad habit. They didn't like to be disturbed while refining pills. Yes, the golden core cultivator responded, and went in to report. Not long after he came out. Family head, the old master invites you in. Hearing this, he strode in and saw his father inside fiddling with the spiritual herbs. He went forward and called, Father. What are you looking for me for? Didn't I leave all the matters in the residence to you? What? Haven't you handled it well? The old man didn't even turn his head as he fiddled with the spiritual herbs in front of him, classifying them. Father, the matter is very important, so I can only come to find you. As he spoke, he took a step forward and said, When we got the portrait of the ghost doctor, didn't you say to investigate his background? This investigation has been going on for a few months. Just now, the spy returned and brought back the news. Have you found anything? The old man turned around. He had a dignified face. Even though he was very old, there were no wrinkles on his face. Instead, it was strangely smooth and ruddy. If it wasn't for his gray hair and old voice, perhaps no one would think that he was an ancestor of a family. Yes, I found it. The Shangguan family had nodded in response. He looked at his father in front of him, and paused for a moment before saying, This ghost doctor is called Fengjiu. Furthermore, he is not a young man but a woman. Oh, a woman dressed as a man? For a woman to have such talent in alchemy, she is indeed extraordinary. The old man nodded and walked to the other side of the tree. He sat down at the table and poured himself a cup of tea. Moreover, Father, this Fengjiu has a close relationship with our Shangguan family. As he said this, he looked at his father's expression. The old master looked up at him and said, Who are you trying to tantalize? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't hesitate. Chapter 1193. Feng Xiao. The great elder furrowed his brows. He couldn't recall who this Feng Xiao was. It's the man with Wanrong, Feng Xiao, Wanrong's husband, he said carefully. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw his father's face darken. What husband of Wanrong? When did Wanrong have a husband? The great elder's face darkened, but his heart was in turmoil. Feng Xiao. That Feng Xiao from a ninth-tier country? That martial artist? The ghost doctor was that martial artist's daughter. Wasn't that Wanrong's daughter? His granddaughter? Thinking of this, his expression changed. His eyes were filled with deep thought. No one knew what he was thinking. Seeing this, the Shangguan family head said carefully, That Fengjiu is Wanrong's daughter. The daughter that was left by Feng Xiao's side. After sending people to investigate, we found out that Feng Xiao never remarried. He only focused on raising his daughter. Also, Father, back then, Feng Xiao was only a martial artist and a general. Now he's already the emperor of the Phoenix dynasty. The emperor of the Phoenix dynasty? What's going on? Tell me in detail, he said in a deep voice. He wanted him to tell him everything he knew. Among these people, Feng Xiao was a person that they never remembered. However, now, this name that shouldn't be mentioned was heard again. Moreover, it was because of his daughter. In these years, how many things had happened that they didn't know about? Father, the Phoenix dynasty was originally a ninth-tier country. This matter started a few years ago. It's said that it was Feng Xiao's daughter who pushed Feng Xiao to the position of emperor. They replaced the original Morong family and became the emperor. They changed the name of the country to the Phoenix dynasty. In a short 2 years, they became a sixth-tier country. He paused for a moment, then continued. Now, Feng Xiao's father is a martial saint, and he even married a daughter of a century-old aristocratic family from a third-rate country. Furthermore, Feng Xiao is also a martial saint. His position and influence in the Phoenix dynasty are spreading extremely quickly. More importantly, with Feng Jiu, the ghost doctor, as their shield, no one dares to offend them in the slightest. Furthermore, they are on good terms with many people, and even the black market treats them with great respect. Hearing this, the great elder's eyes moved slightly. He didn't speak but looked pensive. Seeing that the great elder didn't speak, he said, So I was thinking, our Shangguan family can become relatives. No matter what, this ghost Dr. Fengjiu is still our Shengguan family's granddaughter, isn't she? Father, I think we can recognize her. This will definitely be beneficial to our Shengguan family. I heard that Fengjiu is currently in the city. Third elder even brought people to pick her up. Back then, Feng Zhao's memories were sealed. They shouldn't know that they are related to our Shengguan family. They also shouldn't remember Wanrong. This Fengjiu shouldn't know that she is related to our Shengguan family either. The great elder said thoughtfully. After thinking for a bit, he said, Wanrong has already gone to the 8 great empires. In the future, it won't be easy for her to come back. The other disciples of our Shengguan family don't have outstanding alchemy skills. If we take this Fengjiu into our Shengguan family then. Chapter 1194. Go. After you bring her back, find a chance to let everyone know. The old man's eyes flashed. This is something that will greatly benefit our Shengguan family. Yes, your son understands. The Shengguan family had replied before turning to leave. Watching his son leave, the old man sat there and gently sipped his tea, thinking to himself. In the past he looked down on Feng Xiao, that martial artist. Who would have thought that after 10 years, he would become the ruler of a 6th-ranked country? The child that they didn't acknowledge back then, who was almost killed by them, would actually become the famous ghost doctor. It really was fate making fools of people. However, it didn't matter. As long as they spread the news, the people of the various countries would know that the ghost Dr. Fengjiu was their Shengguan family's granddaughter. Just this point alone would definitely benefit them. When the Shengguan family had arrived at the inn, he saw that the other family heads were also sitting there. When the Shengguan family's third elder saw that it was him, he quickly stood up and walked over. Family head, why are you here? Third elder, where's Fengjiu? Did you not bring her back? He had rushed here as soon as he heard the news, so he missed the scene on the other street. The inn's shopkeeper said that Fengjiu left after booking a room. He probably went out for a stroll and hasn't returned yet. The other family heads are still waiting here. As he spoke, he looked at the people inside. So it's like that. He nodded and said with a smile, Third elder, this Fengjiu in our Shengguan family. He was about to speak when he saw a guard rush over. Not good, family head. Third elder, there's a fight. Our people are fighting with that young Master Feng. The guard ran over while panting. What? They're fighting with young Master Feng? The third elder cried out in shock. He didn't care about anything else and pulled the guard over, saying, Quick! Lead the way, lead the way! When the other family heads in the inn heard their words, they looked at each other in surprise and followed them. They're fighting with Fengjiu? The people from the Shengguan family were really daring. Not to mention other things. Just the black market alone was enough to make people not dare to provoke them. How dare they go against Fengjiu so openly? Haha. This Shengguan family wants to invite Fengjiu to their residence. It seems that there is no chance. At this moment, something that the people of the Shengguan family had never expected was happening on the street. On the main street, many stalls had been smashed. The mercenaries were lying on the ground one by one, wailing. The leader of the mercenary group had Su Shan's sword pressed against his throat, not daring to move. As for the people brought by the red-clothed woman from the Shengguan clan, they were all lying on the ground, especially the red-clothed woman. At this moment, her whip had been snatched away by Fengjiu. Whip after whip landed on her body, causing her to roll around in pain. Ah! Damn it! I won't let you off. Ah! Hiss! Ah! Ah! Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me! In the end, she couldn't take the pain anymore and begged for mercy. Wherever the whip landed, her dress would be torn and a bloody mark would appear. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people didn't know how to describe their shock and disbelief. Chapter 1195. Master Shengguan is here. It was unknown who shouted from the crowd. Everyone turned their heads one by one. Only when they saw the Shengguan clan's people did they quickly move aside to make a path for them. When the woman on the ground heard this, she tried to get up, but the whip wrapped around her leg and pulled her back to the ground. She was hit on the back again. Ah! Father, save me, save me! The woman cried for help in a shrill voice. This caused the third elder, the Shengguan family's master, and the others who had rushed over to be startled. They quickly rushed over, and when they saw the scene before them, the Shangguan family's master immediately shouted in a deep voice. Stop! Crack! As soon as he finished speaking, he lashed out with his whip again. With a crack, the miserable shriek rang out once again. When the Shangguan family had heard it, his anger surged. I said stop! He shouted angrily. 2 golden core adepts stepped forward to take the whip from Fengjiu's hand. Unexpectedly, she swung the whip in her hand and rewarded the 2 golden core adepts. The 2 adepts quickly retreated in pain. Master Feng, please stop. The 3rd elder stepped forward to stop her. He looked at the young man with a frosty face and smiled apologetically. She is the youngest daughter of the master. She has been arrogant since she was young. Now that Master Feng has taught her a lesson, please be magnanimous and don't bother with her. Fengjiu stopped and looked at the old man in front of her. It was the 3rd elder, whom she had met once before. Seeing this, she threw down the whip in her hand and walked towards Mt. Su. Although Su Shan had restrained the mercenary leader, he did not kill him. He only looked at him coldly, put away the sword at his throat, and shouted, Get lost! His shout was very embarrassing, especially since the man was a mercenary leader. Being shouted at by a mercenary, who used to be his subordinate, made him angry. The pain from his injured hand, as well as the mercenaries who were still alive, but could not stand up, made his heart boil with anger. When he saw Su Shan put away his sword and was about to leave, his hand moved, and a dagger fell from his sleeve into his palm. He suddenly rushed forward and stabbed the sharp dagger at the back of Su Shan's neck. When the surrounding people saw this, they could not help but gasp. The mercenary leader was not righteous. Su Shan had let him go, but he still attacked him from behind. This kind of person was not good. Su Shan seemed to have sensed something and turned around. However, before he could make a move, the young man in red in front of him turned and raised his hand. Something seemed to fly out of his hand. Then, the mercenary leader groaned and his eyes widened. His body stiffened and fell to the ground. There were 3 silver needles in between his eyebrows. Fengjiu, who was dressed in red, turned around and said to Su Shan, Don't be too merciful to those who want your life. Kill those who deserve it. His expression was cold and murderous. Su Shan looked at the fallen man who still had a dagger in his hand and nodded, replying, Yes. He shouldn't have been so soft-hearted. He should have killed him the moment he tried to kill him. When the surrounding people saw this, they were silent for a moment. No one said anything because they saw that Su Shan had let the man go. But the man wanted to kill Su Shan. He deserved to be pierced between the eyebrows by the 3 silver needles. Chapter 1196. A cultivator at the pinnacle of the Golden Core stage collapsed just like that. The surrounding commoners might not have thought much of it, but those who had a bit of understanding of cultivation and knew the strength of a cultivator at the pinnacle of the Golden Core stage were all shocked by the fall of that cultivator. Taking that person's life in one move was clean and efficient. This ghost doctor was not only skilled in refining pills, she was also skilled in killing people. This was beyond their expectations. Woo, father, he hit me. He hit me until I'm covered in wounds. Father, you must kill him. The red-clothed woman ran back to her father's side in fear. The Shangguan clan head's gaze darkened. He glanced at his daughter, then at Fengjiu. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he said, Why aren't you helping the 4th young miss back? Yes. The 2 guards behind him responded. The woman gritted her teeth in dissatisfaction. She wanted to say more, but when she saw her father's dark expression and warning gaze, she couldn't help but be startled. Lowering her head, she took out a cloak from her cosmos pouch and put it on. With tears in her eyes, she quickly ran back. Young Master Feng, our Shangguan clan is nearby. We would like to invite young Master Feng to the Shangguan clan. Before the 3rd elder could finish speaking, Fengjiu waved his hand. There's no need. With that, she moved to leave. Su Shan closely followed behind her. Wait a moment. Seeing that Fengjiu was about to leave, the Shangguan clan head spoke in a deep voice. Looking at the dazzling red figure, he was a bit surprised. She was clearly a woman, but when disguised as a man, she was so outstanding and beautiful. If he hadn't investigated her beforehand, he wouldn't have been able to tell that she was a woman. After seeing Fengjiu's brilliance and thinking of her talent in refining pills, the Shangguan clan head's heart stirred. He said, Fengjiu, your father is Feng Xiao, right? Your name should have been Feng Qingge. Hearing this, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and turned to look at the Shangguan clan head. Shangguan clan head, you're quite capable. You've investigated my clan? There was a hint of mockery in his words. If one looked carefully, they would be able to hear the coldness in his words. Saying these words in front of so many people on the street, did this Shangguan family member really think that she was an idiot who couldn't understand the meaning behind his words? Hearing Fengjiu's strange and somewhat mocking words, the Shangguan family had only smiled. We were just thinking that the ghost doctor's name was so famous, and that there was a portrait of the ghost doctor. So we investigated, and wanted to see what kind of parents could raise such an outstanding child. Who would have thought that this investigation would lead us to find out that the ghost doctor was Feng Xiao's daughter? Hearing the Shangguan clan head's words, the other clan heads behind him were slightly surprised and whispered, Who is Feng Xiao? I've never heard of it. No matter what, the ghost doctor is Feng Xiao's daughter? Isn't the ghost doctor male? On the side, the Shangguan clan's third elder heard the clan head's words and his heart sank. Looking at Fengjiu's expression, he had a bad premonition. The clan head had never interacted with Fengjiu before, and didn't know what kind of person Fengjiu was. But he knew. From the first time he saw Fengjiu, he had his suspicions, and had ordered people to secretly investigate. However, before the news of his investigation had arrived, the clan head's investigation had arrived first. Chapter 1197. Shangguan family head. You said that the ghost doctor is Feng Xiao's daughter. Then who is this Feng Xiao? Also, do you mean that the ghost doctor standing in front of us is a woman? She's a woman dressed as a man? A family head couldn't help but ask the question in his heart. His probing gaze fell on Fengjiu's body, but no matter how he looked, he couldn't tell that she was a woman. This young man's actions were carefree and unrestrained. His red clothes were dazzling and fluttering in the wind, and his appearance was handsome like an immortal's. The space between his brows emitted an expression of confidence, and his clear and mysterious eyes were slightly raised, overflowing with an evil and charming aura. His body was suffused with an aura of nobility that seemed to be innate from the inside out, and this was absolutely not something that a woman could possess. They really couldn't believe that such an outstanding youth in front of them was a woman. Family head. Third elder saw that the situation wasn't developing too well, and hurriedly wanted to stop it, but he heard the family head's voice, which carried the aura of spiritual power spread out. Ha ha ha, everyone doesn't know, right? In fact, my little sister Wanrong has already been married. Her husband is Feng Xiao, but for some reason, they had to separate. So many years have passed, and we haven't had any news about Feng Xiao. Only recently did we find out that the ghost Dr. Fengjiu is Feng Xiao's daughter, and also our Shangguan family's niece. He suddenly threw out a heavyweight news, which immediately caused an uproar in the surroundings. Everyone was discussing this shocking news. They knew that the most outstanding woman in the Shangguan family was Shangguan Wanrong. It could be said that she had the most outstanding talent in alchemy among the 3 generations of the Shangguan family. But she was also the most mysterious. They didn't know when it started, but very few people had seen her. According to what they knew, Shangguan Wanrong had never married until half a year ago, when she was taken in as the last disciple of the Pill Institution's sect master, 3 Yangzi. They only knew some rumors about her, but they didn't think that the Shangguan family head would throw out such shocking news today. So Shangguan Wanrong had already been married, and even gave birth to a daughter? Since that was the case, why had she always stayed in the Shangguan family? What was the reason behind this? Was Fengjiu really Shangguan Wanrong's daughter? When the Shangguan family head saw everyone's shocked expression, he was very satisfied in his heart. What he wanted was for them to be shocked. He believed that it wouldn't be long before this news spread everywhere. Everyone would know that the ghost doctor was their Shangguan family's niece. Only the third elder of the Shangguan clan was slightly worried. He felt that this matter would not go as planned by the clan head. After all, Fengjiu was not like other people who would be happy to suddenly have a maternal clan like the Shangguan clan. Fengjiu, your mother is my younger sister. Shangguan Wanrong, I am your uncle. The Shangguan family is your home. Come back with me. Your grandfather is already waiting for you at home. Shangguan clan master looked at Fengjiu with a smile. Su Shan, who was standing behind Fengjiu, was also shocked. He looked at his master in disbelief. Master was actually a woman. Was what the Shangguan clan said true? Was master's mother really Shangguan Wanrong? At this time, Fengjiu looked up indifferently. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, revealing a smile that was not a smile. Her clear eyes looked at the smiling Shangguan clan master, who seemed to be very sure that she would accept this relative. Chapter 1198. She glanced at the person in front of her, her clear and unhurried voice carrying a bit of indifference. I still know whether or not I have a relative like your Shangguan clan. In other words, she didn't recognize the Shangguan clan as a relative at all? When this thought arose, the various clan heads had different expressions. From the looks of it, it wasn't like what clan head Shangguan said at all. Even if the ghost doctor was Feng Zhao's daughter, her relationship with the Shangguan clan was not recognized at all. In other words, it was only Shangguan who said that he was there to make arrangements. That's right. Thinking about the ghost doctor's current status and power, if it was any other clan, they would do their best to have a relationship with her. However, what they didn't expect was that the ghost doctor's true identity was actually the princess of the Phoenix dynasty. Was this Phoenix dynasty a sixth-tier country? It seemed that they had to immediately send people to investigate when they returned. If the situation was true, even if the Phoenix dynasty was extremely far away, they had to first send people over with a generous gift to get familiar with them. For a moment, the various clan heads were already planning on how to form a relationship with Feng Zhao, and how to form a relationship with the Phoenix dynasty. Right now they were still a sixth-tier country, so it was fine. If they were strong enough to the extent that they had to look up to, then Feng Zhao and the others wouldn't be people that they could form a relationship with. But then again, even if they wanted to form a relationship with the ghost doctor now, it would be very difficult for them to do so. How could there not be? What I said is true. You really are our Shangguan clan's niece, and your mother is really my younger sister Shangguan Wanrong. Speaking up to here, seeing that Fengjiu didn't seem to have any intention of acknowledging them at all, his tone also became unpleasant. Is that so? My father didn't even mention this to me. She said indifferently, glanced at him, and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. However, this is the first time I've seen clan head Shangguan act of acknowledging relatives on the street. Clan head Shangguan, you really can't do this. If everyone wants to form a relationship with me in the future, and say that they're my relatives, how can I handle it? Hearing these mocking words, clan head Shangguan was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. These words were saying that their Shangguan clan was shamelessly trying to curry favor with her, and wanted to acknowledge them as relatives? If this were to spread out, would the Shangguan clan still have any face left? Hearing this, the patriarchs looked at each other. One of them chuckled and walked forward. Ghost Doctor, perhaps the Shangguan patriarch thought that since they are an alchemy aristocratic family, and Fengjiu is also an alchemy expert, that's why they are family. As soon as these words came out, many people in the surroundings covered their mouths and laughed. That's right. Just because she was the ghost doctor and knew how to concoct pills, she was his relative? When did the Shangguan family become so thick-skinned and shameless? When the Shangguan family patriarch heard those words, he was so angry that his face turned red. When he heard the laughter of the people around him, he was even more embarrassed and angry. At that moment, even his tone became fierce. Fengjiu, follow me back to the Shangguan family. Your grandfather is at home. If there's something you don't know, he'll tell you. Master Shangguan, are you ordering me? Fengjiu's originally indifferent voice turned cold and sharp at this moment. He raised his clear eyes and stared coldly at the Shangguan family patriarch. Chapter 1199. Third Elder saw that the situation wasn't right, and hurriedly stepped forward. No, young Master Feng. Please don't misunderstand. I believe that the patriarch didn't mean it that way. I think it's best that he didn't mean it that way either. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. A cold voice rang out mercilessly, carrying with it a chill that could freeze a person's soul. At the same time, it was a slap to the Shangguan patriarch's face, causing him to feel humiliated yet helpless. Seeing this, how could the bystanders not understand the situation? A few patriarchs stepped forward and stood in front of Fengjiu. Ghost Doctor, how can an inn be more comfortable than a home? Why don't you rest in my residence? Ghost Doctor, it's best if you come to my residence. There's a bamboo forest in my residence that's extremely secluded and elegant. I'm sure the Ghost Doctor will like it. Ghost Doctor. One by one, they rushed forward, wanting to invite Fengjiu to their residences. If it were anyone else today, perhaps they would have used force. However, the other party was the Ghost Doctor, and had the backing of the black market. If they used force to invite her over, it wouldn't be easy. Where's the Ghost Doctor? Suddenly, a voice rang out from not too far away. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice, and saw a group of Imperial guards rushing over. Behind them were a few cultivators carrying a luxurious sedan. It's the Emperor's personal guards, one of the patriarchs said. Seeing that the Emperor had sent people over, they knew that they wouldn't be able to invite the Ghost Doctor back. Su Shan, who was standing behind Fengjiu, quickly stepped forward and stood beside Fengjiu before saying, Mistress, these are the personal guards of the Qi Tian Empire. Fengjiu nodded slightly and looked at the group of people walking over. This must be the Ghost Doctor. Leading the group were two nascent soul cultivators. Perhaps they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to invite Fengjiu back. Other than the Golden Core cultivators, there were also two other nascent soul cultivators. That's right. Fengjiu replied and looked at them. The Emperor knew that the Ghost Doctor had arrived in the imperial city of the Qi Tian Kingdom, and ordered us to welcome you and invite the Ghost Doctor into the palace. As they spoke, the two original soul cultivators stepped aside and opened up a path for Fengjiu. Please. Fengjiu didn't say much and directly walked forward. After the sedan bearers lowered the sedan, he sat inside. Su Shan followed closely behind, and the group of people headed towards the palace in a grandiose manner. Seeing Fengjiu being taken away by the monarch's men, the Shangguan clan's patriarch recalled the words he had said earlier, and the rage in his heart surged. Ever since he became the patriarch, he had never been so humiliated. Hehe, master of the Shangguan family, your relatives are really... A family master stepped forward and laughed. He shook his head and glanced at him, then left with his hands clasped behind his back. His tone was full of ridicule. Shangguan clan head, this Fengjiu is the Ghost Doctor. How could he be related to your Shangguan clan? Don't think too much about it. Maybe you made a mistake somewhere. Another family head said with a smile, then turned and left. That's right. From what I know, your younger sister hasn't been married all this time. Now that a child has suddenly appeared, it doesn't make sense. Another family head laughed and glanced at the ashen-faced Shangguan clan head. He said, I originally wanted to invite the Ghost Doctor to stay in our residence for a few days, but now it seems that I won't have the chance. Seeing them all turn and leave, the Shangguan clan head gritted his teeth and left with an ugly expression. What a good Fengjiu. What a good Ghost Doctor. Is he looking down on our Shangguan clan? Good, very good. Chapter 1200. News of what had happened on the streets spread like wildfire. It had become the hottest topic of conversation in the imperial city. Many people even found out that the Ghost Doctor had come to the imperial city of Qi Tian country, and had been escorted to the imperial palace by the emperor. Hence, many people who wanted to seek medical treatment waited outside the imperial palace, waiting for the Ghost Doctor to come out. Meanwhile, in the Shangguan household, the master of the Shangguan household, who had just recounted what had happened on the streets to the master of the Shangguan household, was still fuming. He spat out. This Fengjiu, she doesn't know what's good for her. She actually dared to say that we were randomly acknowledging her as our relative. She doesn't even know that we are a century-old pill family. If she wasn't really related to us, why would we randomly acknowledge her as our relative? Sitting on the main seat, the master of the Shangguan household listened to his words and sipped his tea. He didn't say a word, and no one could tell what he was thinking. Father, this Fengjiu is really despicable. If someone like her were to enter our Shangguan household, I'm afraid that she wouldn't be disciplined. Furthermore, she even used a long whip to attack our people on the streets. I think it's better if we don't acknowledge her as our relative." Hearing this, the master of the Shangguan household put down his teacup and spoke in a hoarse voice. "It's right that she doesn't know." Back then, Feng Zhao's memories had already been erased and sealed. If she knew, wouldn't she already know the cause and effect of this matter? Do you think that if she knew what had happened back then, she would still return to our Shangguan household? Then what should we do? Are we just going to let her do as she pleases? Think of a good excuse to deal with her when the time comes. Also, the next time you see her, bring her back. I'd like to meet Wanrong's daughter." "Yes." The master of the Shangguan household nodded and asked, "Father, now that she's been brought into the imperial palace, what should we do?" "It's even better that she's been brought into the imperial palace. Come with me to the imperial palace, and we can ask the emperor to make the decision. When the time comes, if the emperor were to announce that she has returned to our Shangguan household, then things would be even more different." Hearing this, the master of the Shangguan household's eyes lit up. "Father, you mean that whether she acknowledges us or not, we should acknowledge her first? First, we should confirm our relationship." "That's right. We are her mother's family, so it's only right for her to acknowledge us." However, when the Shangguan clan had thought of how difficult it was to deal with that Fengjiu, he couldn't help but frown. "But I think this Fengjiu is different from other teenage girls. She gives me a very strange feeling. Moreover, she has the aura of a superior. When I was coldly glanced at by her on the street, I actually felt a sense of fear. I don't think she is the kind of person who can be easily manipulated. So what? Whether she admits it or not, the blood relationship is still there." The old master's voice was emotionless. He only felt that since she was his daughter's daughter and his granddaughter, she could come back to the Shangguan family. At that time, if she handed over some pill recipes, they would be able to refine those pill recipes for them. Recognizing her would only be beneficial to their Shangguan family. "Then I'll go and prepare now." "Father, when do you plan to enter the palace?" "I'll give the order right away. Let's wait a little longer." He gestured for him to leave first. "Yes." The master of the Shangguan household left. At this time the third elder, who was waiting outside, saw him come out and stepped forward. When he came inside, he first bowed to the old master inside. "Greetings, old master." Chapter 12:01. I wanted to come over and talk about Fengjiu, but I'm worried that doing so would backfire. Just as third elder finished speaking, the old master's voice was heard. "You don't have to worry about this. I will make arrangements." Hearing this, third elder could only sigh, shake his head and walk out even though he had something to say. Perhaps to outsiders, the Shangguan family was a century-old family of alchemists, and was very impressive, but only the few of them knew that the Shangguan family was no longer the same as before. There weren't many outstanding alchemists in the family. The only one who could be said to have extraordinary talent, Shangguan Wanrong, was originally still in the family, but she had already been taken away for half a year. If there wasn't any new blood, if there weren't any outstanding disciples, it wouldn't be long before the Shangguan family would gradually decline. Actually, they were already going downhill, but the family head and old master didn't want to admit it. Perhaps they knew it themselves, otherwise, they wouldn't have tried to bring Fengjiu back to the Shangguan family after finding out that she was Feng Xiao and Wanrong's child. However, what they didn't know was that Fengjiu wasn't like the others. Since she was the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, and was able to personally push her father onto the throne, just this point alone was enough to prove that her ability was extraordinary. Furthermore, her reputation as the ghost doctor had long surpassed that of the Shangguan family. How could she be easily controlled by them? Be brought into the Shangguan family? On the other side, when the people in the palace heard that the ghost doctor had come, the concubines were all overjoyed. They wanted to ask the ghost doctor for a face-nourishing pill to help them become more beautiful. Thus, they all went to the king and begged him to bring them to see the ghost doctor. While the concubines were waiting outside the palace, the king of Qitian country was listening to a secret guard's report in the palace. "Oh, Then, this ghost Dr. Fengjiu's identity is the princess of the Phoenix dynasty? She's a woman? The king was surprised. He had sent someone to invite her after hearing the news, but he didn't expect that the Shengguan family had somehow found out that the ghost doctor's true identity was the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, and even said that she was the niece of the Shengguan family? If this news was true, then it would be incredible. The master of the Shengguan clan said it on the streets, but the ghost doctor didn't admit it. Instead, she mocked him, causing him to lose all face. Is he here now? The monarch asked. We're here. We've arranged for them to stay in the side hall. I'll go take a look and meet this ghost doctor. He stood up and walked outside. He was very curious about this ghost doctor. Just as he walked outside, he saw a group of concubines outside. When they saw him come out, they all surrounded him. Your Majesty, I heard that the ghost doctor has come to the palace. Your Majesty, we would also like to see the ghost doctor and ask for the pills. Your Majesty. Listening to the chaotic voices and seeing these women like this, the monarch flicked his sleeves and shouted in a deep voice. All right, go back to where you came from. Look at you guys, what do you look like? When they heard this, none of them dared to say another word. They could only lower their heads and acknowledge the order before retreating. In the side hall, Fengjiu sat leisurely, drinking tea and eating the exquisite pastries of the palace. Su Shan, who was behind her, was not as relaxed as she was. This was his first time entering the palace. Even though he was standing behind the master of this side hall, he still felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. Chapter 1202. Not only was she the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, she also had the identity of the renowned ghost doctor. He really did not know what kind of luck he had to meet such a master. Seeing his master leisurely sitting there, drinking tea and eating snacks, he could not help but secretly admire her calmness. Even in the palace of a first-rate country, she could still be so calm and at ease, as if she was in her own home. The monarch has arrived. The voice from outside made Su Shan, who was in the side hall, even more nervous. He looked towards his master, only to see her leisurely sipping her tea and patting her robes before standing up. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe, accompanied by 2 nascent soul cultivators and a few palace servants, walked in. The moment he stepped into the side hall, he started to size up the red figure standing there. The first thing that entered his eyes was that peerlessly handsome face that was like an immortal's, and that pair of cold, deep, and mysterious eyes. The confidence and carefreeness that was emitted from between his brows caused him to be in high spirits. If he hadn't learned from the news that the person in front of him was actually a woman, he really wouldn't have been able to tell that she was a woman just by looking at her. This was because there wasn't the slightest trace of makeup that belonged to a woman on Fengjiu's body. There was only an evil and wanton aura of nobility. This aura seemed to be innate, emanating from within. His every movement was filled with an awe-inspiring aura and extraordinary cultivation. It had to be said that even among his sons and daughters, there was not a single one who could be compared to this person in front of him. Such an outstanding and peerless person. Was it really possible for such a small country to nurture such a person? His steps were steady. His body was dignified, his eyes were sharp, his face was dignified, and his lips were slightly pursed. His entire body exuded an awe-inspiring aura. This person should be a person who kills without hesitation. This was Fengjiu's first impression of the monarch of Qitian Kingdom. Monarch. After he sat down on the main seat, she slightly cupped her hands and bowed. Ghost Doctor, there is no need to be so courteous, please sit. He smiled and gestured for Fengjiu to sit down. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded and sat back down. Seeing that the ghost doctor's actions were casual and unrestrained, the monarch's eyes flashed and he smiled. I've long wanted to meet the ghost doctor, but I've never had the chance. Knowing that the ghost doctor has come to the Qitian Kingdom, this monarch is overjoyed. I've heard that the capital of Qitian country is flourishing with many scenic spots and historical sites. I've long wanted to come and take a look. Since I was passing by this place, I decided to spend a few days sightseeing. But I didn't expect that as soon as I arrived at the imperial city, All the patriarchs of the various clans would know about it. Even the emperor was alarmed. Hearing this, the monarch laughed heartily. That's because the ghost doctor's name has shaken every country. Yet she's extremely mysterious. It's difficult to even meet the ghost doctor, which made everyone curious. When they found out that the ghost doctor had arrived at the imperial city, they naturally wanted to invite her over. As he spoke, he continued, "This time, it's rare for the ghost doctor to come to the Chi-Tian kingdom. You must stay here for a few days. If you want to go anywhere to sightsee or play, this monarch will accompany you. I'll definitely let the ghost doctor enjoy herself to the fullest." As soon as he said this, Fengjiu's eyes flashed. The monarch of a country was accompanying her on a sightseeing tour? This was putting her on the same level as him. She really had a lot of face. Chapter 1203. Hearing her words, the monarch smiled. "I heard that you're the princess of the Phoenix dynasty?" "That's right. I've been wandering around for a while, and haven't returned home for a year. I'm planning to play here for a few days before returning home." She originally planned to bring her mother back, but she didn't expect that her mother was no longer here. As for the people from the Shangguan clan, they separated her parents, sealed her father's memories, and imprisoned her mother to refine pills for their Shangguan clan. They still want to acknowledge her? What wishful thinking. Then stay in the palace for 2 days. Let this monarch properly play host. Saying this, he smiled. The scenery in the palace is not bad. Why don't this monarch accompany the ghost doctor for a walk? That's fine too. Fengjiu nodded in response and stood up. She saw the monarch walk down and make an inviting gesture to her. Only then did the two of them walk outside. The two nascent soul cultivators, and Su Shan followed 3 steps behind the two of them. The scenery in the palace was indeed pleasant. Exquisite and gorgeous could be seen everywhere. The two of them chatted as they walked. When they arrived at the imperial garden, they saw hundreds of flowers blooming in the garden with a refreshing fragrance. The two of them stopped in their tracks. Looking at the red-clothed Fengjiu beside him, the monarch smiled. If I hadn't received the news, even this monarch wouldn't have been able to tell that the ghost doctor is a woman. I've been traveling outside all year round, so it's convenient to dress as a man. Over time, I've imitated men's mannerisms and expressions. It's normal for the monarch not to be able to tell. The ghost doctor is in her prime. I wonder, are you married? Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced to the side and looked at him in surprise. He laughed. It's impossible for this monarch to not have such thoughts. Moreover, with the ghost doctor's reputation and talent, even if the ghost doctor is a princess of a country, it's enough to form a marriage alliance with any large country. I'm not afraid that the ghost doctor will laugh at me. I have a few sons who are quite outstanding. If the ghost doctor isn't married and doesn't have a sweetheart, I can meet them and see if they can catch the ghost doctor's eye. Hearing this, Fengjiu couldn't help but chuckle. Monarch is mistaken. I'm already engaged. Oh, there's already someone who caught the ghost doctor's eye? Which country are you from? He was a little surprised. Looking at Fengjiu's appearance, coupled with the fact that he had never heard of any man by her side, how could she be engaged to someone? I wonder if your majesty has heard of Yandian? Her expression was relaxed, and there was a smile between her brows. Yama Palace. Upon hearing these 2 words, the monarch's expression changed slightly. His heart skipped a beat. Yandian must be huge. Even the black market can't compare to it. They have forces in every country. Of course I know that. Although Yandian had not risen to power for long, its influence was spread across the various countries. Moreover, Yandian was filled with experts. Even first-class countries like them did not dare to provoke him. However, the Yama Palace was extremely secretive. If the kings of first-class countries were the rulers of their countries in the open, then the Yama Lord of the Yama Palace was the ruler of the night. Therefore, the powerful forces of second-class and first-class countries all knew that the Yama Lord of the Yama Palace was known as the ruler of the Dark Night. Furthermore, Yandian's influence had never been revealed to the public. It was precisely because of this that not many people knew of its huge influence and its distribution in the various major countries. Chapter 1204. However, she mentioned Yin Dian at this time. Could it be that the person she was talking about was from Yin Dian? Thinking of this, he only felt a rumble in his mind. His mood suddenly fluctuated violently. Looking at her, he tried to use a calm tone and asked, "Could it be that the person you are talking about is from Yin Dian?" "That's right. He is the Yama Lord of Yin Dian." She revealed a smile and said, "This is actually not a secret. Back then, when Qingting Crown Prince joined forces with Morong Bo to deal with our Feng clan, he appeared." The monarch felt that he could not continue smiling. Even if he knew that the power behind Fengjie was strong, he did not expect that other than what they knew, there was actually such a strong power that they did not dare to make an enemy out of. Yin Dian's power was strong, and it was not that no one had thought of uprooting it. However, according to their investigation, they found that this power was related to an extremely strong power of the 8 great empires. Ever since they knew this, the monarchs of the first-grade countries could be said to have ordered their subordinates to avoid Yin Dian if they could, and to not make an enemy out of him. Yin Dian wasn't that bad either. They didn't disturb them too much. Yin Dian only existed in the dark, and only dealt with matters in the dark. They didn't interfere with matters on the surface or fights for territory. Because of this, they gradually let down their guard against Yin Dian. Today, he heard the 2 words Yin Dian from the ghost doctor's mouth. Moreover, she even said such a shocking thing. If this news were to spread, and everyone knew about the relationship between the ghost doctor and Yin Dian, they would probably not dare to offend her. What made him even more shocked was that the ghost doctor's father, Feng Xiao, the country that the ghost doctor came from, clearly had such a strong power and backing, but had not used these connections since the founding of the country. Otherwise, the Phoenix dynasty would definitely not be at the level of a 6th-grade country. To have such a power as backing, they definitely had the qualifications to become a 1st-grade country. At this time, a palace servant stepped forward, bowed and reported, "Monarch, the Shangguan clan's old master and clan head are here." Hearing this, he was slightly startled, and then said to Fengjie, "Ghost doctor, please help yourself. This sovereign will let the palace servants show you around, and later bring you to the palace where you can rest." "All right." She nodded slightly and smiled in response. She watched him leave after instructing the 2 palace servants. A member of the Shangguan family? Her eyes moved slightly, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She walked slowly among the flowers, and walked around for a while. Then, she walked to the pavilion in the imperial garden and sat down. She held her chin with one hand, and tapped the table with the other. She said to the 2 servants, "Make me a pot of tea, and give me a plate of almond cakes and a plate of chestnut cakes." "Yes," the palace servant responded. One of them waited outside the pavilion, while the other turned to instruct the palace servants to bring in tea and pastries. Su Shan was also standing guard outside the pavilion. Looking at the hundreds of blooming flowers in the imperial garden, his mind was in a mess. He was dizzy from one shocking news after another. Not long after, the palace servants brought in the tea and pastries, and then quietly stood outside the pavilion, not daring to disturb her. At the same time, in the side hall, the monarch was chatting with the Shangguan clan's father and son for a while. Then he went straight to the point and asked, "I wonder why the 2 of you are here today." Chapter 1205. Hearing this, the father and son looked at each other. In the end, it was the old man who spoke. "My lord, we came here today to ask for your help." "Oh, what is it?" he asked. "Actually, we found out that the ghost doctor Fengjie is Feng Xiao's daughter, and this Feng Xiao is my daughter Wanrong's husband. However, due to some reason, the 2 of them have been separated. Now that I know her identity, I want to acknowledge her. Therefore, I would like to ask for your help." Hearing this, the king chuckled. "I'm afraid I can't help you with this. The ghost doctor is only here as a guest. If this is true, I don't think the ghost doctor will acknowledge you even if I don't help. If she doesn't want to acknowledge you, this king will only cause trouble. However, she is indeed my sister's daughter," Shangguan family head said. "Then as long as you go to the Phoenix dynasty, and her father acknowledges you, this matter will be easy to resolve, right?" He smiled and said, "All right, the 2 of you, This king still has matters to attend to. I'll take my leave first. Seeing this, the two of them could only stand up and bid farewell. After leaving the palace, Shangguan family had looked at his father and asked, "Father, are we really going to send someone to the Phoenix dynasty? That Feng Zhao's memory has been sealed. Even if we go, I'm afraid he won't be able to remember. Since Feng Zhao won't acknowledge her, and the king isn't willing to help, then we can only make a trip to the Phoenix dynasty. Moreover, the people who go can't be ordinary people. No matter what, I hope this Feng Zhao can help our Shangguan family. But her power and reputation are great. I'm afraid it won't be that easy." As the Shangguan clan patriarch spoke, he frowned. "Didn't you hear what she said on the streets today? That expression, that tone. It's obvious that she doesn't want to acknowledge our Shangguan clan. I'm worried that even if we send someone to the Phoenix dynasty, she won't acknowledge our Shangguan clan in the end." Shangguan family head's face darkened and snorted. "Our Shangguan family wants to be their in-laws. That's their honor." Seeing this, the Shangguan clan leader did not say anything more. It was useless to say anything more. He would just wait and see. On the other side, Feng Zhao was admiring the flowers in the imperial garden. At this moment, a beautiful woman was sitting in front of her. This person claimed to be the concubine who had taken her beauty pill. Knowing that she had come to the palace, she specially came to thank her. "Ghost doctor, ever since I ate the ghost doctor's face-nourishing pill, my appearance has returned to my 17 or 18 years old appearance. Even the monarch was amazed when he saw it. I have to thank the ghost doctor's pill for being able to regain his favor." The beautiful woman's voice was soft and gentle. No matter how one looked at her, she didn't seem to be in her 30s. Regardless of whether it was her skin, figure, or face, they were all first-rate beauties. "You don't have to thank me. I wasn't the one who auctioned the pills." Hearing this, the smile on the concubine's face froze, and she was unable to continue. He felt that Feng Zhao's words were too blunt. "That ghost doctor, it's like this. I want to ask if I can buy some pills from you. I can buy them at a high price. I won't let you suffer a loss." After thinking about it, she still directly asked the question. She felt that if she continued to talk about other people, she wouldn't be able to ask these questions later. Chapter 1206. You're the one who refined this pill. Aren't you the one who has the final say on the rules? As soon as she finished speaking, the youth opposite her flicked his robes and stood up. Excuse me. As she spoke, she stepped out of the pavilion and said to the two palace servants, "Where is the palace that the monarch has arranged for me? Lead the way." "It's in the palace in front, please come this way," the two palace servants hurriedly said, half bowing as they led the way. Seeing the red-clothed youth leave just like that, the concubine was stunned for a moment. She was a little angry, but there was nothing she could do. The ghost doctor's identity was special. Even if she was the monarch's favorite concubine, she didn't dare to do anything to him. For the next 2 days, Feng Zhao stayed in the palace. Before leaving the palace, the monarch had prepared many gifts for her to bring back. She couldn't refuse, so in the end, she could only accept them. As soon as Feng Zhao came out of the palace, she was surrounded by people outside who were asking for medicine. Fortunately, Su Shan followed her and blocked those people all the way, allowing her to return to the inn first. She planned to walk around the city for 2 days, looking at some of the elixirs in the first-tier country's imperial city, before returning. However, not long after she entered the inn's room, another person came to ask for help. Outside the room, Su Shan reported, "Mistress, the head of the Li family outside is here. I won't see them. Whoever comes, block them back." As she spoke in the room, she looked down at her red robes and frowned slightly. Now, she could be said to be transparent in the imperial city. She reckoned that once she walked out, she wouldn't need to buy anything or walk around. She would be surrounded directly. After thinking about it, she took out a set of inconspicuous green robes from her space and put it on. Then, she dressed up simply and went out the back window. At this time, those people were still guarding the front of the inn, waiting for Feng Zhao to come out. However, they didn't know that she had already changed her clothes, disguised herself as an inconspicuous youth, and blended into the crowd. In the city's largest elixir trading company, an inconspicuous green figure strolled around, sometimes looking at this, sometimes touching that. Seeing elixirs that couldn't be found anywhere else, she couldn't help but be a little surprised. A first-class country is indeed a first-class country. The biggest elixir trading company in a first-class country is really not bad. They actually have so many good things. This trip is not in vain. She stood in front of a counter and leaned forward to look at a complete piece of snakeskin. She couldn't take her eyes off it. Good stuff. The skin of the blue crystal snake is actually whole. To be able to skin it so completely, his skills are not bad. She murmured softly, thinking about the effects of this snakeskin as medicine. She thought of several medicines that could use this snakeskin. She straightened her back and looked around. Not far behind her, there was a young man dressed in blue looking at her. Seeing this, she pointed at the snakeskin in the cabinet and said to the man, "Take this out and let me see." Blue crystal snakes were relatively rare, and their skin was even more precious. They could be sold for a very high price, so there were quite a few fake ones. Hearing Fengjio's words, the man walked over. After looking at the snakeskin in the cabinet, he said to Fengjio, "This blue crystal snakeskin is worth 200,000 gold coins. Do you still want to take it out?" Chapter 1207. Facing Fengjio's gaze, the man realized that his tone wasn't too good, and that he was looking down on her. Thus he coughed and said, "This blue crystal snake skin is very precious. If everyone wants to take a look and touch it, who will pay for it if it is damaged? Thus, unless you want to buy it, you can't take it out. Don't worry. If it is damaged by my hands, I will buy it. Quick, take it out and let me take a look." She gestured. Seeing this, the man had no choice but to take out the snake skin and place it on the counter. Fengjio didn't bother with him. After carefully inspecting it and confirming that it was indeed the blue crystal snake skin, she nodded her head and said, "Wrap it up for me. I'm coming." The man was stunned when he heard this. "Why you want it? This isn't 200,000 silver coins, but 200,000 gold coins. You really want it?" This man didn't look like he was rich. Could he afford it? "And take it for me. I want to look at the rest," she said as she continued to walk inside. After the man regained his senses, he hurriedly carried the snake's skin and followed behind her. From time to time, he would look at the green figure in front of him. He felt that he shouldn't judge a book by its cover. He felt even more ashamed of himself for looking down on her. He only recognized the clothes and not the person. There were indeed a lot of things in this elixir store. She managed to find more than 10 rare elixirs, which comforted her from the disappointment of not being able to see her mother after coming to the Qitian kingdom. "Let's settle the bill," she said to the man who was following behind her with more than 10 spiritual medicines. "All right, young master, please come this way." After walking around, the man's attitude changed greatly. Even his face was full of smiles. Within the spiritual medicine company, some of the people who were looking around for spiritual medicines would occasionally look over at Fengjio. This was because the young man in green clothes didn't look very eye-catching. Yet, he had the ability to buy so many precious spiritual medicines. Even if they wanted to buy any one of those spiritual medicines, they wouldn't have the money to buy them. Yet he had bought more than 10 spiritual medicines. What kind of background did he have? After paying the bill, Feng Nine put everything into her space and left. She walked out and walked around the street for a while. She bought some fruits, pastries, and other things. She planned to eat them on the way after they set off. However, after walking for a while, she realized that she was being watched. She walked slowly and leisurely until she turned into an alley. She leaned sideways and waited. Not long after, a gray figure flashed by. She was caught off guard and was startled, quickly retreating. "You've been following me all the way. What do you want?" She crossed her arms and asked the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man didn't expect this young man to know, so he no longer tried to hide and walked out. "Kid, if you know what's good for you, hand over the spirit herbs you just bought." Fengjio sneered and glanced at him. "So you're after my spirit medicine? You should know where this place is. In a first-class country like this, There were many pairs of eyes watching a fat sheep. This young man only had the strength of a foundation establishment cultivator. He didn't have any strong cultivators protecting him. Yet he dared to buy more than 10 spiritual medicines. He was already being watched by those rogue cultivators. Fengjiu smiled. It turned out that she had exposed her wealth and was being targeted as a fat sheep. Chapter 1208. What a big tone. I want to see. Before the middle-aged man could finish his words, his body froze. He only saw a green figure flash in front of his eyes, and a dagger with a cold light was already pressed against his throat. He could even feel the pain of his flesh being cut by the dagger and blood seeping out. For a moment his heart was filled with fear. He was a golden core cultivator. How could a foundation establishment cultivator appear beside him in an instant and press a dagger against his throat? He didn't even have the chance to resist. Young master, spare me, I only want money. Cold sweat poured out from his forehead, and his voice was trembling and panicked. If at this moment, he still didn't know that the person in front of him was stronger than him, then he would have lived in vain. Spare you? I already gave you a chance just now. Now that you want me to spare you, we'll have to see how many good things you have on you that can buy your life. A languid and somewhat careless voice entered his ears, making the middle-aged man's face turn gloomy. He originally thought that he was a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered, but who knew that he himself would become the fat sheep to be slaughtered? However, there was nothing he could do about this situation. Whether he handed over the things on his own, or was killed by this youth, it was all the same. He couldn't keep his things. His only hope was to keep his life. Thus his body stiffened as he said, I'll take it. Young master, don't be angry. I'll give you my Qingquan pouch. He hurriedly took out his Qingquan pouch, and took off all the valuable things on his body, and handed it over to him. Young master, I just want to ask for a chance to live. After Fengjiu received it, he stretched out his hand, and chopped at the back of his neck. With a groan he fell down. Seeing this, she put away the Qingquan pouch and walked out, planning to return to the inn first. Entering through the back window and returning to the room, she heard voices coming from outside. This big brother, please let me in. My grandson's illness is really very serious. I've asked many doctors, and they all said that he can't be saved. However, someone told me that the ghost doctor can save him. The ghost doctor can save my grandson. This big brother, I beg you, I'll kowtow to you. Please let me see the ghost doctor. I'm begging you. Hearing the sound outside, Feng Nine, who was in the room, changed her clothes and washed her face. After washing off the disguise on her face, she wiped the water stains on her face and walked out. Auntie, it's not that I don't want to help you. My master has ordered that he won't see anyone. This, I can't do anything about it. Su Shan said helplessly, as he helped the old woman up. I've even brought my grandson here. I only beg the ghost doctor to take a look. Oh, I only have this one grandson. His parents died a long time ago. It's only us, grandfather and grandson, who depend on each other. I beg you, let me see the ghost doctor. The old woman held her grandson in her arms as she cried and begged. Her sorrowful and helpless voice did not make the people in the inn feel anything. Human nature was selfish. If it had nothing to do with them, no matter how miserable others were, the sadness in their hearts would not be the same as what had happened to them. Moreover, most of them were cultivators, and could see through life and death more clearly. Most of them were cold-blooded people. He was just a child. In their eyes, if he died, so be it. They didn't feel pity at all. Pity. Chapter 1209. A red figure walked out, attracting the attention of the crowd who had been watching indifferently. They could not help but run up. The ghost doctor. It's the ghost doctor. The ghost doctor is here. Surprised voices rang out. The cultivators downstairs who wanted to ask for medicine all rushed up. However, before they could get close, they were blocked by Su Shan. Ghost doctor, please save my grandson. Please save my grandson. The old woman held the child in one hand and tried to pull Fengjiu with the other. However, at that moment, a dagger with a cold glint appeared in her hand. She fiercely stabbed at Fengjiu. At the same time, The 7 or 8-year-old child in the old woman's arms jumped up. The child twisted the lid off a bottle and splashed it at Fengjiu. Su Shan was shocked and cried out, "Master, be careful." When he wanted to go forward, he was pushed back by a force and retreated a few meters. When the old woman rushed over, Fengjiu kicked out. At the same time, he waved his sleeve and pushed Su Shan away. He quickly retreated to avoid the thing the child had splashed at him. The thing was emitting white smoke. After it splashed on the ground, it made a sizzling sound. Even the ground was corroded and holes were formed. Seeing this, Fengjiu's eyes turned cold. He looked at the child who was about to pounce on him. In the next moment, the silver needle in his hand shot out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The silver needle entered between his eyebrows, leaving only a trace of blood. His eyes were wide open and his body stiffened. From life to death, only a moment had passed. Ah! The old woman shouted and pounced on Fengjiu again. Her eyes were malicious, and her body was surging with bloodthirsty killing intent. Those who didn't know better would think that she had some deep grudge with Fengjiu. Fengjiu stood still and watched as the old woman pounced over. She didn't attack until she was right in front of her. A dagger suddenly shot out at a speed that was too fast for the old woman to react. The dagger carried a powerful aura of spiritual power, so the old woman couldn't dodge it even if she wanted to. Whoosh! Yes! The dagger with a sharp aura pierced through the old woman's heart with a whoosh, and with a bang, it stabbed into the pillar behind her, sinking deep into the wood. The old woman's body froze. She opened her mouth as if she couldn't believe that she was killed so easily. "Master, this subordinate has failed in his duty. Please punish me." Su Shan, who finally reacted, quickly stepped forward and knelt on one knee. It was his fault for not being able to protect his master, causing his master to almost be ambushed. The cultivators who rushed over were stunned by this sudden change. There was actually someone who dared to assassinate the ghost doctor in the imperial city in broad daylight? He was courting death. Fengjiu's face was as cold as frost. He slowly walked forward and pulled out the dagger that was stuck in the pillar. He coldly said, "See if there are any clues on their bodies." "Yes." Su Shan hurriedly responded and went forward to search. However, he did not find any clues. He only found a poison pill in their teeth. Seeing this, he reported, "Master, these two should be death warriors. They hid poison in their teeth, but there are no clues on their bodies. Take them away and deal with them." Fengjiu turned and went inside. In his heart, he was thinking, who wanted to take his life? They even used the corpse-destroying water. Chapter 12:10. News of Fengjiu being attacked at the inn was quickly received by the various patriarchs in the city, and they were extremely surprised. Someone actually dared to attack the ghost doctor here? Who was so bold? After recovering from their shock, they came to the inn, intending to pay a visit. When they arrived, they saw that the black market's president was already in the inn, and the monarch had also sent someone to pay a visit. He was one step ahead of them, and was now planning to return. Because of this incident, the inn was cleared out by the monarch's people, leaving only Fengjiu and her servant. The owner of the inn did not dare to say anything. After all, the ghost doctor had almost met with an accident in their inn, and he also had to bear some responsibility. Today, after the inn was cleared out, there were no miscellaneous people, and even entering the inn had to be checked. Fortunately, they had some reputation in the city, and after the guard reported inside, they were allowed to enter. "Ghost doctor, we heard that you were attacked today, and specially came to visit. Are you all right? Who was so bold to actually dare to assassinate the ghost doctor?" "Thank you for your concern, I'm fine." Fengjiu smiled, and invited them to sit down, and let the waiter serve tea. "It's good that you're fine." The few nodded, and smiled as they sat down. They finally found a chance to chat with her. Although they knew that it was impossible to ask for pills, it was good to be able to chat with her and get familiar with her. The few of them and the black market's president ate and drank wine together in the inn, and only left in the evening to their heart's content. Fengjiu also returned to her room to rest until the next day, when she quietly left, leaving those who wanted to send her off empty-handed. Ever since his master had almost been attacked yesterday, Su Shan had been blaming himself. Even though he had been out for many years, he did not expect that someone would actually use that kind of child and old woman to kill someone. It was impossible for him to guard against that. He really did not dare to imagine, if his master had not dodged quickly, what would the consequences be? However, his master did not say anything, not even a word of reprimand, and this made him blame himself even more. If his master scolded him, perhaps he would feel better. "Master, it was my dereliction of duty yesterday. Please punish me." Fengjiu, who was in front of him, heard this and turned to look at him. "You don't have to blame yourself for this. The people who wanted to kill me were old people and children. Even I didn't think of it. Just be more careful in the future." Hearing this, he couldn't help but lower his head and replied, "Yes." After the master arrived at an empty space, he waved his sleeves in the air, and a flying ship appeared. The two of them rose into the air, stepped into the flying ship, and flew into the sky. A month later, in the Qingting kingdom, early in the morning, Fengjiu brought Su Shan to the manor. After entering the array, she saw Leng Shuang, Leng Hua, and the others running towards her happily. "Master, you're back." Leng Hua came to her side and said, "Master, you've been gone for more than a year. We've been waiting here for you for more than a year. Finally, you're back." "Master." The others bowed respectfully and greeted her. They were very happy to see her back. However, who was the person behind their master? Why did he follow their master here? Chapter 12:11. After several people got to know each other, Fengjiu said to them, "I intend to transfer all of you back. You should prepare to go back to the Phoenix dynasty. All the forces here will be recalled." Hearing this, Feng Wei and the others were a little surprised. "Go back to the Phoenix dynasty? Then our original foundation here will also be moved back? Well, you will only have one task in the future, and that is to protect the Phoenix dynasty and my family." She looked at several people and said, "I intend to go back this time and arrange things well before going to the 8 great empires." "Master, you won't take us with you?" Feng Wei and the others thought that they couldn't follow their master, and couldn't help but feel depressed. "Let me go for a while and see the situation. You go back to the Phoenix dynasty first. This time, I intend to take Leng Shuang, Leng Hua and Du Fan." Su Shan, who was behind, heard that he couldn't follow, and couldn't help but feel depressed. Thinking about it, he still wasn't qualified to follow his master to the 8 great empires. Leng Shuang, Leng Hua and Du Fan were happy to hear this. "What about me?" Bai Xiao touched her head and asked, "You won't let me go to the Phoenix dynasty, will you?" Fengjiu smiled and said, "Of course not. You have to go to the 1-Star Academy to participate in the selection. With your Imperial Beast controlling talent, you have a high chance of being selected. After arriving at the sect, you have to work hard to cultivate the Imperial Beast controlling technique. If I don't ask you to look for us, you don't need to inquire about us. When I need you in the future, I will send someone to look for you. But I'm afraid I can't enter the 1-Star Academy. The competition there is very strict. I don't even have the qualifications to take the assessment. You don't have to worry about this. I have arranged everything for you. The president of the black market and the dean of the 2-Star Academy will recommend you." Hearing this, Bai Zhao's face couldn't help but show surprise. "So it's like this. That's good. Then I will go back home and report to the 1-Star Academy." Therefore, after she arranged everyone, she went back to the 6-Star Academy, intending to inform the dean and the others, so that they would not be able to leave quietly. 2 days later, in the morning, it was still early, and there weren't many people walking around in the academy. She didn't want to disturb anyone else, so she came to say goodbye to the principal and the others. She didn't expect that she would be bumped into by a student as soon as she entered the academy. So be it. However, this student was a woman. When she saw her, she immediately cried out in alarm and screamed, "Ah! Fengjiu is back! Fengjiu is back!" The screams instantly broke the tranquility of the morning and reverberated in the sky. The students who heard the screams ran out one after another. When they saw the dazzling red figure in the field, They all screamed and cheered. Ah, it was Fengjiu. It really was Fengjiu. Fengjiu is back. Fengjiu is back. For a time, the students of the various academies ran out and rushed towards Fengjiu from all directions. They were running and cheering, which made Fengjiu unable to react. What was going on? She was startled. Not long after, she saw more than a dozen figures rushing from the mountain peak. They were the mentors of the academy. When they saw her, they surrounded her even before the students could surround her. Fengjiu, you finally came back. Chapter 12:12. Huh. She was a little confused by his words. We all know about the things you did in the 2-star academy. A mentor said with a smile, and then he saw the students gathered around, one by one. Fengjiu. Okay, what are you all doing here? The vice dean came over from behind and motioned for the students to disperse, and then he came in front of Fengjiu, and seeing her, he could not help but smile. The dean knows that you have come back, and is waiting for you at the main peak. You come with me. Fengjiu nodded, and followed him to the main peak. Seeing Fengjiu follow the vice dean to the main peak, the people behind were still talking about it. Did you notice that Fengjiu seems to be different this time? And I also feel it, as if it is different. He is just standing there without speaking, but there is a very obvious strong aura coming from his body. Didn't he already enter the Jindan stage? The aura coming from his body is definitely different. Speaking of which, his advancement is really fast. How long has it been since he entered the Jindan stage? While we are still stuck in the same place. This person cannot be compared to others. Comparing oneself to others will only lead to death. While the students were talking, on the 2 mountain peaks, Enchanting and Ouyang did not approach, but stood on the mountain peak and looked at the red figure from afar. Enchanting's heart was very complicated. Regarding Fengjiu, he thought if he did not use such extreme means, maybe things would be different now. Now that he had experienced so many things, he no longer had the thought of occupying her. He knew that she was not an ordinary woman. She was unparalleled. Even men would feel ashamed of their inferiority. Such a woman, he was not worthy of her. In his mind, he inexplicably thought of that cold and austere figure. That man who exuded the domineering aura of a king, perhaps, was her final destination. But Ouyang thought differently from him. Looking at the red figure at this time, his heart was only filled with admiration. From his initial dissatisfaction to this moment, he had to admit that Fengjiu had convinced him wholeheartedly. Even though Enchanting was stronger than him, he had never submitted to him. However, Fengjiu was different. Everything he did shocked him, and made him feel incredulous. On the other side, Fengjiu, who had arrived at the main peak, saw the dean sitting at the stone table brewing tea. She stepped forward and bowed. "Dean, sit." The dean gestured and handed her a cup of tea. Looking at Fengjiu, who was as radiant as ever, he smiled and said, "You've worked hard outside for more than a year." "No, I'm just looking around. It's an eye-opener." She took the tea and looked at the dean and the vice dean. Vice dean, I actually came back to bid farewell to the 2 of you. You are going back?" The dean asked. He wasn't surprised at all. She did not belong here. She would have to go back sooner or later. "Yes, I plan to return to the Phoenix dynasty to see my family. After that, I may leave here and go to the 8 great empires." She told the 2 of them her plan. Chapter 12:13. And I know. She nodded and listened to him, as if he was an elder teaching her. After half an hour, she got up and went to the Immortal's Cave. In the future, she would not come to the 6-star academy, so she had to see if Xiao He, who was guarding the Immortal's Cave, wanted to go back to the forest. Sitting on the flying feather, she went back to the Immortal's Cave. When Tun Yin came out of the space, he directly jumped down from the flying feather and landed on the ground. When the big black bear saw this, it immediately rushed out and excitedly circled around Tun Yin. "Ayo!" A happy roar sounded out, and Fengjiu came down from the flying feather. "Xiao He!" Fengjiu called out, and looked at the big black bear that rushed in front of her, and rubbed against her leg. Seeing this, she chuckled and patted its head. "We are leaving. and will not come back here in the future. Do you want to go back to the forest? Ao ao. It roared, its voice was low, and its big bear head fiercely shook. Not going back. Fengjiu came to the tree and sat down and said, If you don't want to go back, then come home with me. At that time, you can go and guard the house for me, or not. You are so big, can't you shrink a bit? Ao. It roared, stood up and turned around. The spiritual power in its body surged, and the airflow formed a whirlpool that directly surrounded it. And when the whirlpool dissipated, it appeared in front of Fengjiu. Seeing that it could really shrink, Fengjiu's eyes lit up, and looked at the big black bear that was standing in front of her, and said, Smaller. Hence, the big black bear turned around again, and then stood there in a daze, staring blankly at Fengjiu. When she told it to be smaller, it turned around again. It turned around several times in a row until it finally became a mini black bear, standing there foolishly, as if it was dizzy from all the spinning, and would collapse at any time. Fengjiu's eyes were filled with red hearts as she looked at it. Wow, so you can really be this small. Xiaohei, you're so cute like this. Fengjiu picked it up. It was so soft and furry that she couldn't bear to let it go. Forget it. If you can become so small, then you should stay by my side in the future. She changed her mind again. She felt that she couldn't resist such a cute little bear. Tun Yun, who was lying at the side, wagged its tail when it saw this. It turned its eyes and glanced at its master. It realized that its master seemed to like furry little animals very much. Its original form was obviously very majestic and extraordinary, but its master liked its current puppy-like appearance. It could only recover its original form during battle. Normally, it could only appear in this small form when it was by its master's side. It was certain that if it recovered its original form, it would be able to keep its master in the Phoenix dynasty, and not by her side. However, with its master's hobby like this, if it encountered any more furry little things in the future, it would probably keep them by her side. It was certain that this little bear wouldn't be the last one. Come, I'll give you a truth pill. This is good stuff. After eating it, even if you don't have a contract, you can still speak. She took out a pill from her space, and put it in her palm for Xiaohei to eat. Xiaohei smelled the pill's fragrance, and went forward. It stuck out its tongue and swallowed the pill. Chapter 12:14. She stroked Little Black's head as she comforted it. She could feel that it was uncomfortable due to the effects of the medicine in her arms. She listened to it growl until its tense body relaxed not long after. Little Black, how is it? Say something. She stroked its head and looked at it expectantly. Ah! The little black bear opened its mouth and let out a sound like a human. Then it stared blankly at Fengjiu. Seeing this, Fengjiu laughed and rubbed its head. Okay, I know you're dumb. It's fine as long as you can talk. You don't have to be like Old White and talk nonstop. She stood up and looked at the place and sighed. I've been living here for a while. After leaving today, I don't think I'll have the chance to come back again. As she said this, she suddenly thought of something and was a little surprised. That's right, why haven't I seen Yi Jing? Guan Shilin was fine, but the dean said that there was no news of him since he left. She was thinking of going to the black market to ask, but why hasn't she seen Yi Jing since she came back? Thinking of this, she brought the two beasts and sat on Flying Feather to the spiritual academy to ask. Yi Jing? She was called back by her family a few months ago. I heard that she went back to get married, but I don't know what happened. A teacher said, went back to get married. Fengjiu was stunned. I didn't hear that she had someone she liked. It's said that it's a family marriage. I'm not too sure about this either. The people who came to pick her up said that it's a family marriage, but I saw that Yi Jing seemed unwilling, but I don't know why she followed them back. This is a family matter and a private matter. As teachers, it's not good for us to ask. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded and bowed before taking his leave. Only then did he leave the academy and head towards the black market in the city. She didn't know that after she left, Nietang and Ouyang Xiu both found the dean and planned to report to the One-Star Academy in advance. They knew that she would go to the 8 great empires, and they would also go. When he heard that Fengjiu had come, the black market's president quickly came out to greet her. After she sat down, the black market's president smiled and said, "Young Master Feng, I've been waiting for you for a long time." "Oh, you've been waiting for me?" She slightly raised her eyebrows and looked at him. "Ha ha ha. I don't have anything to do. It's like this. Young Master Guan had sent a letter to me. Because I knew that you were not in the 6-star academy, I had placed the letter here. Now that you have come, I can finally give the letter to you." Saying that, he took out the letter that he had placed in front of him and handed it to her. "Here it is." Seeing this, Feng Jiu took the letter and said with a smile, "I came here this time to ask if there was any news about him. I didn't expect him to send you a letter." As she spoke, she opened the letter and read it. The letter didn't say much. It just told her that he had found some clues about his father's whereabouts while he was out. He wouldn't be back for a while, so she didn't have to worry. Knowing that he was fine, she was relieved. After all, she hadn't heard any news about him for so long. Now that the letter came back, it was enough. She put away the letter and said, "I'm going back to the Phoenix Dynasty. If you have any letters for me, you can send them over there." Chapter 12:15. Don't worry. If there is any news in the future, I will send it to the Phoenix Dynasty. He smiled and said, "Young Master Feng is leaving, so am I. I hope there will be a chance to see young Master Feng again in the future." "There will be a chance." She smiled. After sitting in the black market for a while and chatting with him, she got up and left the city. Outside the city, Lung Shuang and the others were already waiting there. When they saw her coming out, they went up to greet her. "Master. Let's go." She took out the flying ship and brought everyone on board. Then, they flew into the sky. A few days later, when the flying ship landed outside the city and was put away, Feng Jiu and the others asked, "Master, where are we going?" Since 2 days ago, Master had changed the route back. This was not the way back to the Phoenix Dynasty. So where were they going? "I came to see a friend before going back," she said, then said to them, "Let's go." After entering the city, Luo Yu and Su Shan, "Go ask around about Yi Jing. We will wait for you at the inn." "Yes." The 2 people who were called out responded. After entering the city, they went to the nearest inn, while the 2 of them asked around in the city. When they entered the inn, the innkeeper hurriedly came out to greet them personally. He invited Feng Jiu in with a smile. Lung Hua went up and booked a few rooms. Feng Jiu went up to the room on the 2nd floor and waited for the 2 to return. Lung Shuang and Lung Hua served in the room, while the Phoenix guards guarded the door. After an hour, Su Shan and Luo Yu returned. "Master." The 2 of them bowed and reported, "The Yi family is an aristocratic family in this city. Yi Jing is the eldest daughter of the Yi family, the daughter of the head of the family. This marriage is not an alliance between the families, but the crown prince of the imperial family wants to take Yi Jing as his concubine." Under the pressure of the imperial family, the Yi family agreed. However, ever since she returned, Yi Jing has been seriously ill, which is why the marriage has been delayed until now. However, the imperial family has given the final order that the marriage must be held in 3 days. Feng Jiu, who was sitting at the table, rested her chin on one hand and tapped the table with the other. After hearing the 2 reports, she sneered, "Another bully." As soon as she finished speaking, she stood up and said, "Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, come with me to the Yi clan. The rest of you can wait at the inn." "Yes," they replied. Lung Shuang and Lung Hua followed behind Feng Jiu towards the Yi family, while Feng Wei and the others stayed in the inn. Although they didn't know where the Yi clan was, they found a random person on the street and asked for directions. The 3 of them arrived in front of the Yi clan's main gate. Lung Hua went forward and knocked on the door. The one who answered the door was an old man. After looking at the people outside and seeing that they were unfamiliar faces, he asked, "Who are you looking for?" "We are looking for eldest Miss Yi Jing," Lung Hua said warmly. "You are?" The old man was surprised. "My master is a friend of eldest Miss Yi. His surname is Feng. Please pass on the message. Eldest Miss Yi will know." "Oh, so it's like that. Then please come in." The old man opened the door and invited the three of them in. After leading them to the living room, he said to Fengjiu, "Young master, my family's young miss is seriously ill. I'm afraid she can't meet guests. How about this? This old servant will invite master and madam over." Fengjiu wanted to say that he could directly bring her to see Yi Jing, but after thinking about it, she didn't say it. She only nodded and said, "Sorry to trouble you." Chapter 12:16. A red-robed young master? Jinger's friend? In the main courtyard, Yi Clan head was slightly surprised after hearing the housekeeper's words. At this time, someone actually came to look for his daughter. It was strange. Since their Yi Clan's two elders failed to advance and fell, the two most promising elders to advance to the Yuanying stage died. The power of the Yi Clan was not as good as before, and their Yi Clan was getting worse day by day. In the past, those who said that they were good friends avoided them one by one, especially after the royal family put pressure on his daughter to take her as a concubine. He tried to ask for their help, but those friends avoided him, which made his heart cold. Although he knew that human nature was selfish, he thought that his best friends would not be like that, and those he had helped before would not be like that. However, it was only after one failure that he realized that those old friends and family friends of the past were just people who were good at talking. His daughter was helpless. In order to take care of the whole family, she had to agree to this marriage, but her whole body fell ill because of excessive worry, and became more and more haggard day by day. Because of this, his wife cried all day long, and he, as the head of the family, was helpless. Yes, that young master is very handsome, and seems to be the same age as the eldest young miss. The housekeeper said respectfully, "Could it be a friend of Jing, Er's in the 6-star academy?" Thinking of this, Yi Clan head said, "I will go and take a look first, don't tell the eldest young miss." Yes, the housekeeper responded and followed the clan head out. Coming to the front living room, as soon as he walked in, he saw a red-robed young man sitting there drinking tea. When he saw the young man, Yi Clan head could not help but be startled, because this young man was really outstanding. His temperament was unparalleled, his face was handsome, and his body had a noble aura. Even the children of the royal family could not compare. Seeing this, he stepped forward. "I don't know who this young master is. My surname is Feng. My name is Jiu. I am Yi Jing's friend. This must be the Yi Clan head." Feng Jiu stood up and cupped his hands in salute. "It is this Yi young master Feng. Please sit down." Seeing the young man's magnanimous demeanor and every move of his, she couldn't help but be secretly surprised. After inviting him to sit down, she said, "My daughter is seriously ill and couldn't come out to greet you. It's really rude of me. I hope young Master Feng won't blame me, because this was only a 6th-ranked country." Although the news of Fengjiu's ghost doctor had spread among the upper-ranked countries and influential families, this 6th-ranked country had not received the news or the portrait. Therefore, this Yi family head did not know that the young man in front of him was the famous ghost doctor. "No, Yi Jing and I are best friends. I don't care about such empty formalities," she said with a smile. Seeing this, Yi family head was slightly surprised and asked, "I wonder how young Master Feng and my daughter met? Is young Master Feng also a student of a 6-star academy?" "Yes, we met in the 6-star academy. Yi Jing is a magnanimous and upright person. I admire her very much. Some time ago, I was away from the academy and did not return to the academy. Recently, when I went back, I found out that she had returned home. It was said that she came back to get married, so I wanted to come and see her, but I did not expect to hear that she was ill." Hearing this, Patriarch Yi was relieved. It turned out that he was Jinger's friend from the academy. A friend that she knew from the academy specially came here to see her. Chapter 12:17. Yes, I heard. She looked at Master Yi and said, "I want to see Yi Jing. Is it convenient? Young Master Feng is my daughter's best friend, and you came all the way here." "Of course it's fine." He stood up and gestured to Fengjiu. "Please follow me." "Okay." She responded and followed him to the backyard. Leng Shuang and Leng Hua followed behind. Fengjiu, who followed Master Yi to the backyard, admired the scenery in the Yi residence while Master Yi secretly observed the youth beside him. At first, he thought that this young man came here to see his daughter because he liked her. However, looking at his expression, it didn't seem like it. It was as he said, he was only a close friend of his daughter. However, between men and women, was there such a thing as best friends? Even if there was, it was probably very little. Along the way, he pretended to ask casually, I wonder where young Master Feng is from? I'm from the Phoenix Dynasty. She turned around and smiled at him. Oh, Phoenix Dynasty? I've heard of this before. It's said that this Phoenix Dynasty rose from a 9th-ranked country to a 6th-ranked country in a short 2 to 3 years. It's a powerful country. Hearing this, she smiled and said, Yes, the Phoenix Dynasty is not only powerful, but also has a good location and many scenic spots. If Master Yi has the chance to come to the Phoenix Dynasty in the future, I will personally welcome you. Personally welcome him? Master Yi was surprised when he heard this. These words were too strange. He was the master of the Yi family. This young Master Feng and his daughter were of the same generation. If he really had the chance to go there, then the person who would welcome him should be young Master Feng's father. Why did he say that he would personally welcome him? Although it was strange, he didn't ask. He just smiled and nodded. Okay, if I have the chance in the future, I will definitely visit the Phoenix Dynasty. The two chatted as they walked. Soon they arrived at Yi Jing's courtyard. The two entered the courtyard and Master Yi said to Fengjiu, Young Master Feng, please wait a moment. As he spoke, he personally knocked on the door. A maid came to open the door. Seeing that it was Master Yi, she quickly bowed. Greetings, Master. Is Madam also in young Miss' room? He asked. Yes, Madam is inside with Miss, the maid said. Go in and tell the young Miss that Master Feng is here to see her. He gestured for the servant girl to go in. Then, he turned to Fengjiu and gestured, Young Master Feng, please. Fengjiu nodded slightly and walked inside with him. As soon as they entered, they heard Yi Jing's weak but pleasantly surprised voice. Young Master Feng? Is it Fengjiu? It's me. She answered from outside and walked in. She saw a haggard and sorrowful-looking beautiful woman sitting by the bed. She was helping Yi Jing, who was struggling to sit up. Seeing this, she gestured. You don't have to get up. Your body is weak. Just lie down. Young master, you are? The beautiful woman looked at Fengjiu and inquired. Fengjiu greets Madam Yi. I am Yi Jing's friend. She bowed slightly. Yes, he is Yi Jing's friend at the academy. Master Yi walked in and said. Yi Jing was very happy to see Fengjiu. She seemed to be more energetic. She took Fengjiu's hand and asked, Fengjiu, why are you here? I'm really happy. I didn't expect to see you again. Chapter 12:18. Jinger, this you. Mother Yi looked at her daughter holding the young master's hand and didn't know what to say. Could it be that Qing Exine already had a sweetheart? Was it this red-clothed young master? No wonder even though she agreed to marry the crown prince as a concubine, she fell ill. So it was because of lovesickness? Thinking of this, her eyes couldn't help but warm up and tears fell down again. Her poor daughter. Jinger, how can you hold young Master Feng's hand? This isn't proper. Father Yi said. Seeing that young Master Feng didn't pull his hand away, and even held his daughter's hand, he couldn't help but stare straight. This young man was too bold. He actually dared to touch his daughter in front of them. This brat, if he didn't see it with his own eyes, he really wouldn't be able to tell. It's okay, we often did this in the academy, Fengjiu said without thinking. As soon as her voice fell, she saw Father Yi and Mother Ye's stunned expression and froze for a moment. Then she reacted and couldn't help but laugh. Yes, they didn't know she was a woman. They thought she was a man taking advantage of their daughter. You too. Yi family head, I'm actually a woman. I like to dress as a man. Yi Jing knows that I'm like a sister to her. Fengjiu chuckled and generously told them she was a woman. You're a woman? Father Yi and Mother Yi were very stunned. Looking at this elegant young man, he actually said he was a woman? She nodded. And it's the real deal. Father, Mother, Fengjiu is a woman. You don't have to worry about her taking advantage of me, cough cough. Yi Jing smiled, but after a few words she coughed. Okay, Okay, I won't talk first. Mother Yi looked at her worriedly. Let me take a look, Fengjie said. She stepped forward and sat down on the bed to check her pulse. Mother Yi couldn't help but look at Fengjie. She secretly thought she really knew medicine. However, whether she knew it or not, she had good intentions, so she just let her be. Actually, it's not a big problem. It's just that you're too worried, and your heart is filled with depression. She smiled and withdrew her hand. I'll write you a prescription. You'll be fine after 2 days. As for the matter you're worried about, I can help you solve it. You know, Yi Jing looked at her. And otherwise I wouldn't come. She smiled and said, I heard about it from my mentor, and wanted to come over to attend the wedding. Who knew that you would fall ill? I got someone to do some research, and the whole story was made clear. You too, since you're in trouble, why didn't you come to me? Even if I'm not here, my people can still solve this problem. Hearing this, a warm current flowed through her heart. I didn't want to trouble you. After all, this is related to my family's matter. We don't have to be. It's not like it's the first day we met. She chuckled. The two of them spoke one sentence after another. The Yi family couple was a little confused as they listened. What the hell was going on? Why can't they understand? At this time, Fengjie turned to Father Yi and smiled. Father Yi, I'll have to trouble you to prepare paper and ink. I'll write a prescription for Yi Jing, and then go to the pharmacy to get the medicine. Chapter 12:19. So it's like this. Then find someone to take me there. I'll go get some medicine for you. Hearing this, Yi family had looked towards Yi Jing. Yi Jing smiled and nodded. Father, you take Fengjie there. Knowing that her parents were worried, she added. Her medical skills are very good. Young Master Feng, no Miss Feng, please come this way. Yi family head made a gesture of invitation. Fengjie followed him outside and saw Leng Shuang and Leng Hua waiting in the courtyard. She said to Yi family head, wait a moment. She walked towards Leng Shuang and handed her a command medallion, saying, make a trip to the black market and tell them to deal with this matter. Yes. Leng Shuang replied and left after receiving the token. Yi family head didn't hear what they were talking about, only faintly hearing something like take care of the black market. So he didn't ask and took Fengjie to the medicine storehouse. At the same time, Madame Yi asked, Jinger, where is this Fengjie from? She's the princess of the Phoenix dynasty. With her here, I don't think I need to marry that crown prince as a concubine. Saying this, she smiled from the bottom of her heart. She knew that as long as Fengjie was willing to help, her family's problems would be easily solved. Madame Yi was surprised and didn't quite believe it, but seeing her daughter's expression, she didn't say anything else. She thought to herself, I'll go back and tell Master about this and see what's going on. After Fengjie got some medicine for Yi Jing, she let the servants boil it and went to the room to chat with her. Father Yi and Mother Yi went back to the main courtyard first. At the same time, when the black market saw Leng Shuang come with the token, they were surprised. After welcoming her in, the black market's president personally asked for the reason. After knowing what the ghost doctor wanted them to do, he immediately sent an elder to the palace. Miss Leng Shuang, I've already sent someone to deal with this matter. Tell the ghost doctor not to worry, this isn't a big problem. The president of the black market said. Looking at the ice beauty with a cold face, he thought for a while and asked, Miss Leng Shuang, is the ghost doctor in the Yi mansion now? It's true that mistress is in the Yi residence, but she doesn't like to be disturbed. You don't have to go. Just do your job well. Leng Shuang said. He bowed to the president of the black market and said, I have to report back. Goodbye. All right, I'll see you off, Leng Shuang. The president of the black market said as he walked her out personally. After they left, a middle-aged man beside the black market president asked in confusion, President, even though the ghost doctor is someone with a level 1 black order, we have to do things for him, just because he wants us to. Isn't this a little too much? Hearing that, the black market president turned around and glanced at him coldly. He growled, What do you know? How many people do you think hold a level 1 black order in each country? What's more, is this someone else? This is the ghost doctor. and the pills she refines are only auctioned off in our black market. Do you know how much benefit she has given to our black market, just based on this point alone? Chapter 12:20. Hearing this, the middle-aged man was slightly surprised. Was the status of the ghost doctor in the black market so high? On the other side, Yi Mansion, since Fengjiu came, Yi Jing's courtyard from time to time came out of the two's laughter, and the originally somewhat oppressive atmosphere was thus relieved. When Father Yi and Mother Yi came to the courtyard and heard the laughter coming from inside, they couldn't help but look at each other and walked inside. When they came to the inner room, they saw their daughter sitting on the bed and Fengjiu sitting on the bed. They didn't know what they were talking about, but from time to time, they would laugh. Father, Mother. When Yi Jing saw the two of them, she called out, "We heard your laughter before we came in." Lord Yi said to Fengjiu, "Miss Feng, I've prepared lunch in the courtyard. It's all home-cooked dishes. I hope you don't dislike it." "No, home-cooked dishes are delicious," Fengjiu said. "Then please, I've asked people to take out the precious wine and invite Miss Feng to drink 2 cups. Then, he said to the madam beside him, "Let the maid help Jing or get up and help her out for lunch. The more people there are, the more lively, and she will be more energetic." "Well, you two go first. We'll come later," Madam Yi said, and let the two go to the courtyard to sit first. She let the maid come forward to help. The two went outside, and Leng Hua came to stand behind her. Lord Yi poured a cup of wine for Fengjiu. "Try it. This is my collection of spirit wine, and the aftertaste is relatively strong." "Good," Fengjiu responded, picked up the wine cup and took a sip. The taste was mellow, and a breath of spiritual power flowed along the throat into the body. The taste is mellow, the spiritual power is rich. It is indeed a rare wine. Drink a few more cups if you like. Today, I've asked the kitchen to make some wine that can be a dish. Please. He gestured. Fengjiu was not polite. He picked up the chopsticks and picked up a mouthful of meat to eat with the wine. Not long after, Madam Yi helped Yi Jing out, and the two came to the table and sat down. Yi Jing had been lying in bed for months due to illness. She rarely came out to bask in the sun. The whole person looked a little pale, as if a gust of wind could blow her down. "Yi Jing, your body is not suitable for lying in bed all the time. You should go out more often, and your body will recover faster." Fengjiu poured her a cup of wine. "This wine is good, you can drink it." Seeing this, Yi Jing took a sip. She didn't care, but her parents were a little worried that she couldn't stand the strong wine. "Just 2 cups will do. This is not bad. It can disperse depression and promote blood circulation," Fengjiu said. Seeing that she finished a cup, he poured another cup for her. Seeing that her face was dyed with a layer of red, he picked up some food for her to eat. Father Yi originally wanted to stop, but seeing that his daughter's face looked a lot better after drinking 2 cups, he didn't say anything. He just picked up some food for her to eat, while chatting with Fengjiu, until the meal came to an end. At this time, the housekeeper rushed in from outside. "Lord, His Highness the Crown Prince has come. He is waiting in the front hall." Hearing this, the originally good atmosphere suddenly changed. Father Ye's face sank, and his body emitted a suppressed anger. Needless to say, the Crown Prince must have come to urge the marriage. This was simply too much. He said 3 days, but he still came at this time. Chapter 12:21. Yi Jing glanced at Fengjiu and saw her nod with a smile. She then smiled and said to her father, "Father, you go take a look first. You guys eat. I'll be back soon." He stood up and went out with the housekeeper. Yi Jing held her mother's hand and smiled gently. "Mother, don't cry. This crown prince should be here to cancel the marriage." "Ah, how is that possible? He must be here to urge the marriage." Madam Yi thought of her daughter's poor health, and this crown prince still came to urge the marriage. He originally said that he would come 3 days later, but now he came again before the time was up. He should just be here to apologize. Yi Jing's marriage is not going to happen, Fengjiu said with a smile, thinking that the black market people were really efficient. After hearing the two's words, Madam Yi couldn't help but stare blankly. She felt that it was a little unbelievable. But looking at her daughter and Fengjio's expression, it seemed like this was the case. She couldn't help but feel moved and looked at Fengjio. Could it be that you were talking about this before? This Fengjio actually had the ability to make their crown prince cancel the marriage in such a short time and not make trouble for them? Was this real or fake? The two nodded and smiled in response. On the other side, in the front living room, Lord Yi looked at the crown prince, who had brought large and small bags of things to the door. He said that he was here to apologize and cancel the marriage. He said that his father would announce this matter tomorrow morning and compensate his daughter. He could only feel his head buzzing. Although he still maintained the dignity of the head of the family, his heart was beating like a drum. He couldn't figure out what was going on. It wasn't until he heard the last part of the crown prince's story that he understood the cause of the matter. Was it the ghost doctor who asked the black market people to help them solve this matter? But their Yi family didn't know the ghost doctor. That ghost doctor's name was known all over the country, but they didn't even know what the ghost doctor looked like. They had never come into contact with the ghost doctor. Why would the ghost doctor help them? Patriarchy. What happened before was my fault. Please forgive me and don't bother with me. The crown prince looked at the Yi family head in front of him, paused and said, Yi family head, how do you know the ghost doctor? Since you know the ghost doctor, you should have said it earlier. Then, there wouldn't have been so many problems. Lord Yi glanced at the crown prince and saw that he was probing him, so he said, I didn't expect things to turn out like this, but it's good that the marriage is cancelled. My daughter is seriously ill in bed. It's really inappropriate to discuss marriage. As he spoke, he stood up and said, Let me send your highness off. Haha, there's no need. I won't trouble patriarchy to send me off. The royal highness waved his hand as he spoke. After glancing at the Yi family head, he said, I hope that the Yi family head can ask the young miss to put in a good word for me in front of the ghost doctor. With that, he turned and left. Hearing this, the head of the Yi family was slightly startled, as if he had thought of something. His eyes widened in disbelief. Ghost doctor? Red-robed young master? Fengjio. Chapter 12:22. Thinking of this, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and hurriedly went to the backyard, intending to ask for an explanation. In the backyard, the few people who had finished eating had already cleared the table and replaced it with freshly cut fruits. A large fruit platter was placed in the middle of the table, made up of several different colored fruits. After hearing the two's words, Madame Yi was unable to suppress her joy, because the people around her had come to tell her that His Highness the Crown Prince had come with gifts to apologize, and that the marriage had been cancelled. This news made her so happy that she wanted to cry. Fengjio, have some fruit. Madame Yi used a bamboo stick to give her a piece of fruit. You've helped our family a lot. We don't even know how to thank you. Fengjio smiled and took it. There's no need to say thank you. Yi Jing is my friend. Yes, our Jing is really lucky to have a friend like you. She nodded her head and said with a smile, Mother, don't be like this. You'll make Fengjio feel uncomfortable. If you really want to thank her, go back and personally make some of your best dishes for Fengjio. She'll definitely be happy. Yi Jing smiled and said, then looked at Fengjio. You don't know, my mother's cooking is very good, but she doesn't cook easily. I love good food the most. Since that's the case, I'll have to trouble Auntie Yi. She smiled and her eyes narrowed, even changing Madame Yi to Auntie Yi. It's no trouble, no trouble. Madame Yi also smiled happily, thinking that Fengjio was really a good child. Not only was he outstanding, but he was also very capable. Moreover, he was so amiable and easygoing, not putting on airs at all. Master. The two maidservants outside the courtyard called out respectfully, letting the people in the courtyard know that Master Yi had returned. Master, how was it? Madame Yi couldn't hide her joy as she looked at him. She knew that the marriage was cancelled because of Fengjio. As for the details, she didn't know. However, Yi family head did not answer her. Instead, he came to the table and bowed to Fengjio. This Ye's eyes are blind. I didn't know that the guest in my house was the ghost doctor. I hope you don't blame me for my rudeness. As soon as his voice fell, he continued, "Here, this Yi solemnly thanks the ghost doctor for your help. Our Yi family will definitely remember today's kindness in our hearts." At the same time, just as he was bowing in salute, he was helped up by an invisible force. "Uncle Yi, you don't have to do this," Fengjie said, but did not accept his bow. Instead, he stood up and said with a smile, "Yi Jing is my friend. How can I not help when my friend is in trouble?" Uncle Ye's words are too serious. Yi family head nodded excitedly. After asking her to sit down, he also sat down and said, "Just now the crown prince came and personally came to apologize. I also learned of Miss Feng's identity as the ghost doctor from his mouth. He didn't expect that the ghost doctor would come to his house. Even more, he didn't expect that this ghost doctor was his daughter's friend. Moreover, it was a woman. I'll let the people from the black market deal with it. It's just a matter of a word." As she said this, she saw Leng Shuang come in from outside. "Master, the matter is done." As he spoke, he handed over the black order. Fengjie responded and took it. Chapter 12:23. That's what the people outside call me. She smiled and nodded. Heavens! Madame Yi couldn't hide her shock as she covered her mouth and exclaimed, You're actually the ghost doctor." Fengjie smiled and said, "The ghost doctor is also a person. There's no need to be so shocked." Saying this, she looked at Yi Jing, who was sitting quietly and looking at them with a smile, and said, "I'm planning to go home. Do you want to stay with me at my home for a few days?" Hearing this, Yi Jing's eyes lit up. "Can I?" "Of course you can. I just don't know if Uncle Yi and Aunt Yi will be at ease." She smiled and looked at the two. Relax, of course we're at ease." Following the ghost doctor out, what was there to be worried about? That was something that many people wished for. "Then I'll be bothering you at your home for the next 2 days. When Yi Jing's body gets better, we'll set off. Just in time, we can take advantage of these 2 days to properly taste Aunt Ye's cooking." Good. I'll definitely make something different for you every day," she said with a happy smile. Yi family had watched from the side and also smiled. He felt that the dark clouds above their heads had dissipated with Fengjie's arrival. The entire Yi family's oppressive atmosphere had also eased because of this, returning to its former relaxed state. Just like this, Fengjie stayed at the Yi family. As for Feng Wei and the others, they stayed at my inn. After staying at the Yi family's couple treated her very warmly. Madame Yi personally cooked every meal and made all of her best dishes. It really was as she said. There was no repetition in every meal, and the taste was very good. The news that the ghost doctor was in the Yi family had somehow spread. Those who had previously avoided Yi family had all came to visit with gifts after receiving the news. However, this time, Yi family head didn't see them and tactfully refused to see them. He only said that he had an important guest and wouldn't see anyone else. Even if people saw this, they couldn't do anything and secretly regretted it. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have alienated the Yi family and made it so difficult to enter the Yi family. Only, when did the Yi family's people have a relationship with the ghost doctor? Why didn't this kind of relationship spread out? It really was too strange. If the marriage between the Yi family and the royal family hadn't been cancelled, they wouldn't know that the ghost doctor was in the Yi family. In the garden of the house of Yi Fengjie accompanied Yi Jing to walk in the courtyard. After a day of taking medicine and the cancellation of the marriage, Yi Jing's spirit returned. Her weak body gradually recovered after taking a pill from Fengjie. She could walk out of the courtyard and walk around the garden. "Yi Jing, are you the only child in your family?" Fengjie asked the person holding the basket beside him, as he plucked a flower and sniffed it. "I have a younger brother, but he's not home," Yi Jing said, and handed her the scissors in the basket. "Let's cut some flowers and put them in the vase." "Okay, I'll cut it. You just hold the basket." After Fengjie took the scissors, he picked some flowers and cut one down. After trimming it a little, he handed it to her. Yi Jing took it and put it into the basket. She pointed at another flower and said, "That one with a bud is also good." "This one." Fengjie's scissors moved, and a pink budding flower was handed to her. "Okay. Yi Jing smiled happily, picking for her on the side. Fengjiu cut on the side. The two people talked from time to time and laughed. Chapter 12:24. Knowing that they were leaving today, the Phoenix guards at the inn had been waiting outside the Yi residence since early in the morning. When the Yi residence's doors opened, their master, dressed in red, walked out. "Master," they called out in unison, bowed, and waited at the side. Fengjiu nodded in response. The Yi family couple, who came out to send them off, looked at the few imposing men. Seeing that they were all in high spirits and had an extraordinary aura, they couldn't help but secretly praise them. The people around the ghost doctor were also so outstanding. Each of them had a handsome face and an outstanding temperament. "Father, mother, you don't have to send me off. I'm with Fengjiu. You don't have to worry. Nothing will happen." Yi Jing stopped and said to her parents who were sending them off, We know. With Fengjiu by your side we can rest assured." The Yi family couple replied. Then, they signaled the housekeeper to come forward and present the few gift boxes behind them. "This is a small gift. Don't decline it. If you decline it again, you'll really look down on us." The Yi family head said, and asked the housekeeper to bring the things forward. Seeing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, "Uncle Yi is too polite. Since that's the case, then I won't decline it. Leng Hua, accept it." "Yes," Leng Hua replied. Then, he went forward to take the gift boxes and put them into his heaven-earth bag. "It's getting late. We'll take our leave," Fengjiu said with cupped hands and looked at Yi Jing. Yi Jing understood and said to her parents, "I'll be back after playing there for a while. Don't worry, we'll be leaving. Have a safe journey," the Yi family couple said. Then they reminded Yi Jing of a few things. Then the group headed out of the city. Just as they were about to leave the city, many people from the clans in the city rushed out with gifts in their hands. Before they could get close, they were stopped by the Phoenix guards. Then a spaceship appeared outside the city. "Let's go," Fengjiu gestured. After the group boarded the flying ship, they left the people below behind. Only then did they soar into the air and head in the direction of the Phoenix dynasty. In the faraway Xianyuan Empire of the 8 Great Empires, Xianyuan Mo stood by the window with his hands behind his back, in a luxurious black robe outlined by dark cloud lines in a palace. Looking at the sky outside, he thought of the woman he missed. It was also the worry and longing in his heart that made him see the white clouds in the sky as a sly Fengjiu. In the white clouds, he seemed to see her smiling at him, and he seemed to hear that sly and clear voice calling out, "Uncle, uncle." His thin lips, which were originally slightly pursed, curled up imperceptibly as he thought of the person who pleased him, revealing a smile. That woman, what is she doing now? In the blink of an eye, more than 2 years had passed. The last time Ren Xiang had sent back the news that she had entered the Golden Core stage. Moreover, she had also completely changed the sacred land of the 2-star academy beyond recognition. Thinking of this, he could not help but shake his head. This woman was like this. No matter where she went, she would not be at peace and would not suffer losses. Even when she fell into his hands that year, she was still able to escape from his hands. She even stole his heart, making him think that he was gay. A 10-year agreement. How could this monarch make such a long agreement with her? Chapter 12:25. Master. Hui Lang's voice traveled over, causing Xianyuan Mo's, who was standing by the window, to come back to his senses and look at him. Hui Lang's body carried a strong smell of blood, and his entire body was filled with murderous intent. He was like a fierce wolf that had just returned from a fight, giving people a very fierce feeling. This subordinate has already annihilated the last point. A total of 242 people. Not a single one escaped. He respectfully reported, "Go back and tell them to stop after this matter, and try not to appear in front of the other forces. Rest for a while and wait for further orders." Xianyuan Mo's ordered in a deep voice. "Yes," Hui Lang responded, and seeing that his master had already turned around, he retreated. Since their master had returned, reorganized his forces, and defeated the enemy forces. although they had experienced many things and dangers in these 2 years. But now, the crisis had been resolved, and the most important thing was that the 1,000-year cold poison in their master's body had been cured. This was what made them most happy. Without the 1,000-year cold poison tormenting their master, they did not have to worry about their master's health. And in these 2 years, the Holy Emperor had also relied heavily on their master, and most of the empire's affairs were handed over to their master. This made the subordinates very happy. In their hearts, their master was the Holy Emperor's most outstanding son, and was the most capable natural ruler. Only their master could make the empire stand above the other empires, rule the entire empire, and lead the empire to glory. Outside, he saw that Yi had unknowingly appeared outside the hall, so he walked over and asked, "Master, how long have you been standing in front of the window in a daze? Are you thinking about the ghost doctor again?" Yi glanced at him and said, "Aren't you asking the obvious?" Hearing this, Hui Lang scratched his head and said doubtfully, "I don't understand. What's there to think about? If I hadn't seen you for 10 years, I probably wouldn't have thought about it either." Hearing this, Yi rolled his eyes and was somewhat speechless. "How is this the same?" "That's true, you're not a woman." Hui Lang nodded and said, seeing Yi's face darken. Seeing this, he grinned and patted him on the shoulder. Okay, don't throw a tantrum like a woman. I'm just casually saying it. It's just a random analogy." It would have been better if he hadn't said this, but as soon as he did, Shadow One's face darkened and his eyes widened. Although his heart was burning with anger, he still said in a calm voice, "Grey Wolf, we haven't fought in a long time. Why don't we practice?" "Practice? Good. Let's go. He nodded and gestured for him to go first. Yi glanced at him and walked forward. However, he had only taken a few steps when he heard a gust of wind behind him. He looked back and saw that Grey Wolf had already jumped over the wall and left from the other side. He could only hear his voice coming from the wind. "Haha, do you think I'm stupid? Practice? Don't you just want to use a legitimate excuse to teach me a lesson? I won't give you a chance. I'm leaving first. You go practice with your own shadow." Hui Lang's voice spread with the wind, inside and outside the palace, and in the open and in the dark, could not help but twitch the corners of their mouths, but they did not say anything. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.